Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining us here today, and welcome to this Inside the Blue Lab session with Bluehost. Uh, I hope you all are doing well, and I'm really excited to be speaking with you all on e-commerce this morning. Uh, just to give you a brief introduction about myself, my name is Nathan DeMello. I'm part of the product team at Bluehost, and I'm responsible for some of our WordPress, WooCommerce, and other hosting products for Bluehost India and the international regions. Before I begin, I just want to go through a few hygiene items uh, just to ensure that you can make the best out of this webinar. Uh, Depending on the device that you are using, you either might be on a desktop or a mobile device. The options that you can see in front of you will allow you to either raise your hand or type in a question or comment as you have them. Uh, you see the options for mobile and desktop in front of you on the screen. Uh, Also, it'd be great if we can just do a quick test to ensure that you can see and hear me clearly. So if you can just raise your hand, just so that I know that you can hear me well, that'd be great. Great. I see a few hands coming up. Thank, Thanks. So I think we're all good there, and we can jump right in. Um, so I know that there's a mixed bunch of you attending this webinar. Some of you might be already having an existing business, probably offline. Some of you already might have just started an online business. Some of you planning to start a business, or some of you building e-commerce websites for others. Just so that I can ensure that each of you, I can tailor my content so each of you have something to take away from this webinar. It'd be great if you can uh, answer this poll that will pop up in a few minutes in front of you, and that would really help me kind of tailor the rest of this webinar. Great. I see a lot of you budding entrepreneurs looking at starting a business of your own, and that's really amazing. And congratulations on taking a first step in that direction. As a just follow up to that, you'll see another poll that will come up in front of you. This is just a follow up to the previous question that will give you some perspective of how experienced you are in terms of website building. Some of you might just be started and have no experience at all, which is completely fine. But some of you might be, experts as well, which will also help in ensuring that I have something for you as well. Perfect. So I see a lot of you do have some experience, which is great, and I think hopefully the content today would really be helpful for you today. Uh, just to cover a quick agenda of the items that we'll be covering today in this webinar. Uh, we'll start off with a checklist of sorts that you could use as a guidance to start an e-commerce business in India. We'll also go through some latest trends and best practices in e-commerce, and lastly, look at how some of our e-commerce products and solutions by Bluehost can help you in your journey, uh, building and growing your e-commerce. your e-commerce business. Uh, I also want to call out that it's great that most of you joining here are looking at starting an e-commerce business, and we at Bluehost would like to support you on this journey in any way that we can. And since you're attending this webinar, we have a special curated bunch of discounts, offers, as well as some resources that can help you on this journey. And in a moment, you'll find a link to a form that will come up in the chat box. And if you could fill that form, we'll reach by the end of this webinar. We'll Our team will be sure to reach out to you by the later today with some of these material and resources. Great. I think the form's in the chat box, and let's begin. So the fact that here, most of you are here for this webinar, I don't think e-commerce has needs any introduction to any of you. We all use it probably very often, a couple of times a week, probably every day, a couple of times a month. Family, friends, everyone's probably shopping or buying stuff online. But the reason I kind of bring this slide in front of you is just to give us some perspective on how large e-commerce actually is. If you look at the data as of 2021 last year, the total market size for e-commerce is about $84 million, and it's only expected to increase exponentially over the next five to 10 years. We have about 700 million internet users today. There are 600 million smartphone users, and that is growing at the rate of 25 million users per quarter. It's a pretty great and huge opportunity, and something that any business owner, either existing or someone who's starting out new, should already be taking advantage of today if they aren't already. So how do we kind of begin and get started with building an e-commerce business, right? Uh, you've probably heard this saying that, and we probably know about this as well, that every business starts with an idea. And what I'd like to say today further is kind of extend it a bit further to say that, idea, every business starts with a great idea, which is amazing. But every successful business starts with an idea that actually solves a problem for a group of customers that are actually willing to pay for it. All of us have great ideas, and that can potentially be great businesses, but we really need that to solve some need or problem that a customer is facing, so that they actually want to pay us for it. And it results in a good enough financial opportunity for us as well. That kind of gives us a return on the time and effort that we've put into building this out. To give you to give you some examples that come to mind, that are probably products that were great ideas in and of themselves, but they've probably not done as well or as expected because they didn't really solve a problem. Was this company that kind of I would say built a product called Smart Salt and Pepper Shaker. While it sounds pretty intriguing and interesting, all it did was kind of connect to Wi-Fi, connect to your Google Home, Alexa devices, kind of uh, enable enabled your salt and pepper shakers that you have on the table. And while it's a great idea and very innovative in itself, it's the current salt and pepper shakers aren't really considered a problem for customers, and it's very likely that many customers are not going to be willing to spend money for something that's not something that's bothering them. Sure, it's a novelty, and probably if it's cheap enough, or you getting it as a gift or something, you'll probably use it. But the market for that will be really low, and you really need to ensure that uh, that you have evaluated your idea to ensure that there is a substantial market to kind of reward you a return all the hard work and effort that you're putting into getting this up and running. With that in place, before you kind of jump in and turn your idea and into reality and begin execution on your idea, it's probably worth putting pen to paper and asking yourself a bunch of questions that will help you further get into the details of what your idea is about, and really helping validate if you're solving it the right way, and if there is really a significant demand or market that exists for your product or service. Few questions you can ask yourself about, uh, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Is the solution you have in mind the best way to solve it? Understand who your customer is. Do they have a strong enough need for the product, and are they willing to pay for it? Who are your competitors in this space, and what is their market share? How are they doing in the market? There are a few tools that you can use for this that would probably help you, really understand the demand that really exists for your product or service. There are tools like Google Search Trends and Google Keyword Planner, or uh, Google Keyword Forecast Planner, where you can, everyone uses Google today to search for a number of things, and using the data that Google collects, it's able to show you trends in search volumes that they are seeing for a particular, search term or phrase. So, for example, if your product you're selling some piece of clothing, or say a smartwatch, you can actually see the search trends for how number of people searching for smartwatches. What is the volume over a period of time? Um, how many people are actually clicking for it on search results, which will also help you understand if how successful you would be in paid advertising on Google search as well. So these are some ways that you can help evaluate this. The other bunch of questions that you can see towards the second half is more operational in nature, where you'd have to think about, how would you source your products and services? How will you deliver them? How will you maintain inventory? How will you finance them and distribute them? This is by no means an exhaustive list, but I'm pretty sure that as you get through some of these questions, you'll be asking yourself 10 more, which will help you get into further depth and detail about your business plan and model. Uh, a call out here is that you don't really necessarily need to prepare. If you're just getting started, you don't probably need to get into a formal business plan per se, but just asking yourself these questions can help go a long way to ensure that you're really putting your time and effort in something that's really going to be beneficial for you in the long run. Uh, Once you're done with that, there are a couple of legal and financial formalities that you'll have to have in place to set up a business. I know this might not particularly sound fun for a lot of you, and unfortunately, it's something that you need to get in place and get right at the start, so you don't have any unforeseen or undesired consequences uh, later on in your business. Now, what exactly you need kind of depends on the situation you are in and the type of setup you have. So I would advise that you get in touch with a legal or financial advisor if you need some guidance on what exactly you need to set up. But there are a few things like GST registration, which is mandatory for all e-commerce businesses in India. For an offline business, there are some threshold. There's a threshold limit that is exempt from registering GST. If your business turnover is less than a certain amount, you can actually skip this step for an offline business. But unfortunately, it is mandatory for all online stores and e-commerce websites. Things like bank account opening is obviously something you have to get in place to ensure that you're able to receive the payments that your customers are making on your website. Uh, once you have once you've gone through the previous steps, I think this is where the fun starts for most of you, where you actually, based on the insights that you've gathered from thinking through your business model, understanding your market, understanding your customers, you can then go and start building your brand to kind of reflect that. And the few things that you need in this when you're at this step is thinking about the right name for your business. It basically forms the identity that your customers would identify with, uh, and know your brand for. So you'd want to ensure that you're choosing a name that's unique, that's brandable. Probably run it by friends and family to ensure that they perceive it the same way as you do. Uh, the next two steps are really important, especially for an e-commerce business, which is registering your domain name and getting a hosting space for your website. It's essentially like your virtual address or virtual office space for your business, where or virtual place of business where your customers will actually be interacting with you and conducting transactions and purchases. So you want to ensure that you're choosing a domain name that is easy to remember, easy to uh, speak to share with family, friends. Like if I'm talking to someone on the phone, it should be easy to pronounce. Some domain names like Google, Bluehost.in, Amazon.in is something that kind of is pretty short and easy to remember and kind of uh, share as well, which is what you should aim for. And hosting space, while I it's a large topic in itself, and we've done a couple of sessions in the past that will probably get into this in detail. But essentially, for those of you who are new to this, hosting space is essentially space where you actually host your files for your website. When someone visits your domain name, the browser will essentially go try to locate a server that has the files for your website, and then use that to serve your website to the customer. Uh, there are a couple of options available here where you can go for a shared hosting, where if you're just starting out, you're not expecting too much traffic initially, and to the other extreme, which is servers like VPS and dedicated, where uh, they are entire servers just uh, dedicated for your site, and can handle large amount of traffic and visitors that are visiting your site. So depending on where you are at and how you plan to scale your business, choosing the right server is going to be very important. Uh, for most of you who are just starting out, I would suggest you go with something like a shared hosting, which is basically uh, which providers like Bluehost offer today, that allow you to host your website files on a server that's shared with other websites as well. Uh, this ensures that it keeps the cost low for you, since you're not really expecting a lot of visitors right away. Uh, you can share that cost and gradually grow and evolve to the higher servers and offerings as your visitors increase, and as you outgrow the current hosting space that you require. And also, designing your logo and digital assets at this point is going to be really important. This is how people would visually identify with your brand. uh, you'd want a common kind of mistake as such that people make at this step is kind of design design a logo in isolation without keeping uh, keeping other mediums and other perspectives in mind, in the sense that a logo might look great by itself, but might not look the same on different mediums like stationery, merchandise, websites, social media. There are a lot of places where you need to use your logo, so you need to design it keeping with that in mind. Having said that, I think it's if you're not really sure on that, you can probably defer this to a later step until you have a few things in place and know exactly how you want it to look. Uh, and the next step, which is probably the most important step of starting an online store, is really choosing the right platform that you want to go with. Right, there are the 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 different services that you see on the screen are very popular e-commerce platforms that are used by different businesses online, and they each have their own merits and solve different kind of needs that small e-commerce business owners have. For example, you have sites like Shopify. Yeah, really a, a all-in-one solution, that a cloud solution that you kind of pay for. And if you're not really interested in a lot of customizations, changes and stuff, you just want a simple site to host your store and get started, then that's a great solution for that. There's also PrestaShop, which also gives you a self-hosted uh, solution that you can set up your store on, similar with BigCommerce, Squarespace, and Wix as well. And on the other side, there's also platforms like WooCommerce that give you a bit more flexibility. So for someone that really wants, the e-commerce website to be built and look and function a certain way, WooCommerce is based on WordPress, which is one of the most popular open source platforms for websites available out there. About 40 to 50% of the websites globally are powered by WooCommerce and are powered by WordPress. And WooCommerce is an extension that sits on top of WordPress and gives it e-commerce capabilities. With the power of WordPress and WooCommerce, you have tons of flexibility to design the site the way you want. There are literally thousands of themes and templates that you can choose. Since it's open source, there are it which essentially means that it's built by a community of people and developers. There are plugins for almost every kind of functionality that you'd want to add to your site, and most of these are available for free, and some of them with a small fee as well. This is one of the main reasons why at Bluehost we've so closely associated ourselves with WordPress and WooCommerce and actually offer our offerings around this platform. So, but irrespective of the kind of platform you choose, I'm not saying that WooCommerce is the solution for everyone. Like I said, it is each of these has their own merits and benefits, and based on what you're really looking for, based on your needs, if it's something you want more flexibility on, or if it's your priority is just to get started with something already available and ready-made, that you can just go live with your store with, you can choose from any of these options available and more. I've For the purpose of this webinar and talk today, the next steps I will kind of demonstrate based on WooCommerce, but they are largely the same for most of these steps will largely be the same for other providers as well and platforms as well. Once you have your platform in place, the next kind of major decision that you'd have to make is how your website is going to kind of look, and what's the design, what's the structure and layout going to be. You want to ensure that you're building a store that looks appealing and really going to be engaging and interactive and usable by customers. If kind of your visitors are going to visit your site and not kind of figure out how to navigate it, or how to find what they're looking for, it's highly likely that they're just going to exit and not kind of convert or purchase anything from your store. That's why this is one of the this is the next important decision that you have to make for your site, and there are a couple of options to help you out there. Most of the platforms that we discussed previously have a library of these themes and templates that you can use, and WordPress and WooCommerce has the same. uh, there are two categories under this, where you have free themes and you have premium or paid themes. Free themes are essentially, given that it's open, so WordPress is open source, a lot of developers design and contribute themes free of cost uh, to the WordPress.org repository. Premium themes are some developers that provide a little better design and functionality and kind of charge you a small fee in return for the effort that they have put into their themes. And the general advice I would give in terms of choosing between free and premium is based on your situation and where you are. So if you're someone who's just starting off trying to validate an idea and in very early stages of setting up an e-commerce business, I would suggest probably prioritizing investing on your products and services rather than a theme at this point. You can go in for a free theme. There are tons of free themes like storefront highlighted over here, astra ocean wp, etc., that provide great e-commerce themes and templates. Just because it's free, I'd like to call out that it's not that you're going to receive a lower quality. All these free themes go through a stringent design review and testing before it's on the listed on the WordPress repository. So you can ensure that they're of top quality, but they might not be over the top in terms of design and functionality. But if you have someone that's already established a business, probably running offline, or have had some exposure in terms of an online store, or as you kind of grow and scale your website, you can definitely invest in a premium theme that give you some really amazing designs and look and aesthetics to your site, as well as some really cool and advanced functionality that could really help boost customer engagement and conversions as well. There are two places that you can essentially consume these themes from. If you're using Bluehost, the Bluehost WooCommerce solution, we have an onboarding flow where we'll handhold you to selecting your theme and other aspects of your store, or else you can just log into your WordPress admin panel and install a theme fairly easily from there. Once you're done with your theme, you'll actually have to, the next step, you'll actually have to set up your online store. When I talk about setup, it's basically, the few operational aspects of, setting up your invoicing, setting up your taxes, shipping, payment gateways, and products. Depending on whether you're using, you know, uh, uh, depending on the platform you are using, the steps can kind of vary, but these are largely some of the most common steps that you'd have to go through. Uh, this can easily be done from the WordPress admin panel by logging in and going through WooCommerce, and there are a bunch of settings and configuration that you have to use. But if you're using our Bluehost WooCommerce hosting solution, what you see in front of you is the kind of experience that you will get, and we've tried to make it a bit easy and simple for you to get started with your store with the 4 easy steps that I just spoke about. The first step is basically setting up your store information. This is where you'd actually provide, the location of your store, your details about your your billing address, your currency that you want to accept in, and the type of products that you want to sell. The reason that most platforms ask you whether you want to sell physical, digital, uh, or or services is basically you can then, as an extension of this, also use this e-commerce platform for any offline setup as well. So for example, if I'm starting an online store today selling physical products, in the future if I want to set up a physical presence in terms of a brick and mortar store, I can use the same platform for my in-store point of sale as well. This helps me maintain a common set of inventory of products and services across my website and online store. So the last option, as you can see, asks you if you plan to sell products or services in person as well, which basically will allow you to use WooCommerce as a point of sale system as well in the future. The next step is basically, product related to products and inventory. This is probably one of the most, will probably, depending on your type of business, probably be one of the most time consuming tasks that you'd have to undertake, but thankfully it's only a one time task that you'd have to do initially as you kind of set things up. uh, this is basically adding your products and product catalog and inventory to the platform, so it can display it on your website. You'd have to, have a new add a new product for each unique SKU that you have or stock keeping unit. uh, you can set up quantities, you can set up attributes, like if you offer one product in different variants, different colors, different options, different configurations. That's all something that can be easily defined over here along with its pricing. So if you want to offer a product, you can offer a product at a regular price. If you want to run a sale, there is a sale price that you can schedule as well. uh, there's also a product image, which obviously is super important for every product listing, and a short description so that your customers uh, know the details of the product that they're buying and how it can help them. Once you have your products in place, the next important step is payment gateways. Payment gateways obviously is going to be really important for you to collect payments and receive payments from your customers. There are a lot of options that you can use. There are online and offline options. Offline options in the sense of cash on delivery, that's very popular in India, and probably NEFT, IMPS, and other offline transfer options that are available. But the most common option that most e-commerce stores use today is credit and debit cards. And ideally, in an ideal setup, you'd probably have to kind of integrate and link with the large number of banks and card networks like Visa, Mastercard, Amex yourself directly, which is a lot of formalities, a lot of paperwork, and a lot of effort. But thankfully, we have payment gateways to help us, where they have taken care of all the the nitty gritties of the partnerships with the different networks and banks, so that it's easy for you to integrate to your site. So as someone who start building and setting up an e-commerce store, there are essentially two steps that you need to follow. One is basically set up a merchant account with any of these providers, depending on they essentially provide the same service, but they kind of vary in a couple of characteristics, where uh, in terms of fees. So for every transaction that you receive via their services. Since they provide you the platform and infrastructure to process that transaction, they take a small fee out of it. The general fee is about 2% per transaction, but can, depending on the volume of business that you're bringing, it can be either higher or low. So yeah, once you set up a merchant account with them after choosing any of these payment gateways, you'll have to provide some KYC documents, etc., to kind of meet with certain RBI and regulatory guidelines. And once your account is activated, you just copy a few codes into your WooCommerce store, and you'll be set up to receive payments. It's as simple as that. With Bluehost, we've gone a step further and added this to our WooCommerce experience as well. As you can see on the screen, with just a click, you can install the Razorpay plugin and get it set up on your store. Uh, if we've also partnered with them, and if you sign up for a merchant account through us, you'll enjoy a lower transaction fee than what they normally provide, as well as some free credits worth 1 lakh. So this essentially means that your first 1 lakh worth of transactions with us would be free without any transaction fees. Uh, Next is shipping. Shipping, as you know, is one of a really important step, especially if you're selling physical products. This as well has basically about two steps that you need to look for and ensure that you have set up. One is essentially the configuration your shipping configuration in the sense that which locations that you want to ship to. So if the customers residing in depending on the country the customer is residing in, you want to charge certain shipping fees. Certain countries you don't want to support, or certain cities you don't want to support delivery to. You set that up right at this step. Uh, and and one of the most common ways for handling shipping, especially when you're just getting started, is to do it manually. What I mean by that is when you get an order in, you'll get a notification by email that you've received a new order from so and so customer. You can view their details. You can view their details, what they've ordered and stuff. Get that, source that product, and when you're ready to ship, you print out the invoice, print out the shipping label, attach it to the product, and go to a good to your preferred courier partner and get it shipped. Uh, but you can continue that way for a certain amount of time, but you'll probably as your site grows in scale, you'll probably reach a point where it becomes too much for one or two or a bunch of people to handle and kind of sit and manage all that themselves from the interface. And this is where certain shipping automation plugins like ShipRocket come into the picture. uh, what certain services and plugins like ShipRocket help you do is the moment you kind of indicate or update the status of an order to ready for shipment, uh, you it creates a link where you can automatically transfer this information to your preferred shipping partner. You can see a different lot of options available there. They create an available, they'll schedule a pickup, and all that you normally have to manually do in terms of contacting your shipping provider offline and etc. will be automated and taken care of automatically as your orders come in and as you're ready to ship. There are also really useful plugins like Aftership that allow you to provide advanced tracking capabilities on your website. So once you shipped your product and you get like a tracking number, you can update it in Aftership, and Aftership will handle certain notifications to your customer, inform them by email and SMS at every stage of the shipment, and also when it's out for delivery and stuff like that, similar to how you currently receive them for Amazon. And then we come to tax. This is probably one of the most cumbersome steps that you have to uh, go through in setting up your WooCommerce store. By default, WooCommerce provides you an interface like the one you see above, where you actually have to kind of define every country and state or postcode combination and their respective tax rate. So certain states, especially in India, certain states, depending on the place of business, you have to charge SGST plus CGST, and some states will charge IGST. Uh, this would have to be manually defined by default, but thankfully there are a few services that can kind of help ease this out. Some most popular services that e-commerce businesses in India use are WooGST and Avalara. These are tax automation plugins, and instead of having you actually fill out these configuration manually, which is probably prone to mistakes and errors, you can kind of sign up with these providers, and they kind of automate this for you and ensure that you're calculating and charging the right amount of tax depending on the location of your customer. So this is something that you can explore as well, and you'd also want to run this by your financial advisor or accountant to ensure that you have this set up, because it can lead to certain complications if not done correctly. And the next step is probably one of the most neglected or ignored steps uh, in the entire process, and we kind of leave this to the last and kind of hurry through it. But it's really important. It's a really important step, especially when you're building an e-commerce website. It's basically your website or legal agreements that you have on your website. If you look at any website today, especially if it's e-commerce, you'll find these two features very prominent in the footer or in different places of the website, which is called the terms of service and the privacy policy. Uh, these are essential kind of documents to have on your website, which one help with ensuring that any liability against you is reduced to the maximum extent possible. And two is, depending on the geographic location of where your customers are based from, there are certain requirements that require you to publish your data privacy practices that you are following on your website. Especially in e-commerce, when you collect information like name, address, and other details of the customer, it's important that we are handling them in the right way, ensuring privacy in mind, and we are required to document that in our privacy policy. You can the most recommended way is to kind of reach out to a lawyer or a legal agency that can help you draft this based to your business. But there are also a certain there are a lot of tools and services available online that allow you to generate this as well. However, I would only suggest or recommend that you go down this approach if you are able to kind of understand the terms of service that they are generated for you, and you can ensure that that's sufficient to cover or protect you to the maximum extent possible. And lastly, before we go live, it's always important to ensure that you have certain amount of analytics and reporting in place. Once you're live and you start, getting visitors and traffic to your store, you'd want to ensure that that you're able to track this performance and see how your site is faring overall. Uh, WooCommerce provides WooCommerce used to provide a separate plugin that you need to install called WooCommerce Analytics, but fairly recently they have started including it as part of the core WooCommerce product itself. So that means you get an analytics as part of your normal WooCommerce setup. It gives you basic information in terms of your total sales, total visitors, total customers that you received on your website. You can also drill down to product-wise sales and various reporting that you need to ensure how you are financially performing. But there are also other tools like Google Analytics, Google PageSpeed Insights that give you a bit more insight into how customers are engaging and interacting with your website. These are very popular analytics tools. I'm pretty sure you've heard them already. And using a Google Sitekit plugin available on WordPress, it is a plugin built by Google themselves and allow you to, within one click, integrate with all these analytics tools that they have to offer. That will give you insights into how many impressions that you are getting on your site, what what are the most interacted pages on your site, what is the kind of journey that your customers are following once they enter your site. It will help you understand potential drop-offs and why a certain bunch of visitors might be visiting your store and then exiting without making a purchase. So these two are really important and really helpful to get started, and you can obviously grow and evolve your reporting setup as you grow with your business. And once you have that in place, you would largely be ready to go live. Once you launch your website, you can start sharing it with your friends and family, and ask them to kind of share that forward, share posts on social media, and also kind of venture into areas like digital marketing and paid advertising as well, where you can start displaying ads and driving traffic from social media and search engines like Google, etc. While you do this, you also want to ensure that your website is optimized in the best way possible, that most of your users are kind of converting and making a purchase. And to do that, there are a couple of additional things you can later do post launch to ensure that you're really maximizing your conversions to the best way possible to kind of give you that benefit for the effort that you're putting marketing your site. And one of them is kind of related to customer engagement and lifecycle management, where plugins like Creative Mail that allow you to kind of keep a constant touch with your customers and different steps of their journey with your site. So, for example, they allow you to, one by default, integrate seamlessly with WooCommerce, so you can kind of customize and improve the design of the standard uh, e-commerce transactional emails that you send, like new orders, password resets, shipping notifications, etc. But in addition to that, you can also schedule emails in an intelligent fashion. So if someone's tried to sign up and they've probably not completed a purchase for whatever reason, you can immediately send out an email automatically using plugins like Creative Mail that will probably give the user an offer and convince them to kind of give you a second try. Uh, for customers that have made a purchase, you can schedule, a marketing journey or steps where you give them series of emails that will help them better use your product. This will kind of increase the engagement that the customer has with you and your brand, and ensure that and kind of help ensure that you get a high repeat order rate or long term customer relationship as well. The other thing that you can use to optimize your site is also regarding checkout funnels and related to, really uh, ensuring that you're able to upsell and cross sell your products more effectively. For those who are really new to this or not really sure of what this is, upsell and cross sell really refers to, offering complementary or supplementary services, products and services to what the customers has already added to cart or trying to purchase. For example, if I am a furniture, I have a e-commerce website selling furniture. I can essentially, if I've already added I say a sofa set uh, to my cart, I can offer, installation assistance and a few other complementary services to the customer at the time of checkout, and that's essentially known as that's essentially an upsell or a cross sell. An upsell is when you upsell a similar product of a higher value, and cross sell is basically when you offer complementary products and services to your customer. There are a couple of ways you can do that within WooCommerce and WordPress, and WooFunnels and Cartflows provide really amazing ways to do this. As you can see some screenshots that are available in front of you, it allows you to define an entire checkout journey of funnel for the customer that they will go through, and intelligently put the right offers in front of them at the right time. Uh, Obviously, these can be used in many misleading and manipulative ways, but we need to ensure while we do this, we need to keep the customer in focus and ensure that we are doing what's right for them and what's helpful for them. And lastly, I mean, we've gone through a series of steps on how you can set up your online store and optimize it. Uh, Here's how Bluehost can really help you on this journey, right? So there are a couple of products and offerings that we currently have that can help you get started. One is our WooCommerce hosting offering, which I briefly touched upon earlier as well. It is a customized experience built around WooCommerce that allows you to easily get started and allow you to go live fairly quickly. There are certain it's based on our shared hosting concept that I spoke about earlier, and we provide certain plugins and add-ons like CDN and caching to make your site run really fast and at great speeds. And because we want to support all new entrepreneurs helping to looking to get started with their business, we also offer a free domain with our hosting pack products for the first year as well. So you can buy your hosting and get your domain as well together. Now I know that all this might seem quite intimidating or complicated to some of you, and you probably might be thinking, this is too complicated complex for me, and I am not I might not able to manage this myself, and that's completely understandable, and a lot of people do feel that way. While WordPress and WooCommerce is designed to be flexible, open, it does come with some learning curve that might not be suited to everyone. And in response to that, we've recently launched a WordPress website builder, where it's basically a layer on top of WordPress and WooCommerce that provides you a simple drag and drop interface for you to design your site. So instead of going through and navigating the normal WordPress panel to create your pages and stuff like that, we have some AI powered tools and components that suggest you the right some relevant assets and themes based on the type of business you want to run. For example, if you want to run a restaurant website, uh, we'll pick out themes and plugins that are relevant to your industry and business. And it's all easy as a drag and drop. There's no coding, there's no complex setup required. You can get started fairly easily with a few clicks. And even this might not be suitable. We understand this might not be suited for everyone, and to for those that absolutely find that website building websites is not their cup of tea, they can reach out to our tailored design team, which is really a do it for me service, that where you would actually meet with the design experts. They discuss your requirements and they can build the site for you on your behalf, keeping your requirements and design preferences in mind. Uh, we offer a free consultation on our website, so you can visit our website or call our helpline to avail of the same. And I know that we are quite nearing the end of the time that we have today, but I'd like to open up for a few Q&A that you might have. Uh, I know that given the short time that we've had, I've not been able to go into a lot of depth and detail into the steps, the exact steps that you need to follow to set up your store. But there have been a few webinars that we've done in the past that go through detailed steps of how to use WooCommerce and navigate it. We'll share the links in the chat box in a few moments, and you can use that. You can definitely use that to as a guidance while you set up your store. And here's I'll also like to provide my contact details. So if you're free to kind of reach out to me on email or Twitter or LinkedIn for any further questions or help you might need, and I'm more than happy uh, to assist you. Uh, we are also being part of the product team as well. We are always looking at hearing from our customers and getting feedback to help improve our products and services. And please feel free to reach out for any suggestions or feedback you have as well. There's probably nothing better than reaching direct to a product team and giving your feedback. I'll take some questions right now. Let me just open this up. So one of the questions, sorry, just, okay, so some of you have asked, can we quickly revisit all steps? I think Aditya, you've asked this question. Aditya, while I don't think we have kind of time to go through all the steps right now. We'll be sure to send you a recording of this webinar so you can kind of re-watch this entire thing at your own pace. And as mentioned, there are certain resources that in terms of previous webinar recordings that you can access and refer to as well, or you can feel free to reach out to me as well via my via email or social, and I'll be happy to help you out there. How can we use Shopify with Bluehost? Satyam, basically, Shopify is a separate cloud platform by itself. They offer, hosting and their entire software, uh, which is proprietary to them, and you can't really use them with Bluehost or any of our products. They're two separate platforms by themselves. Like I mentioned, Shopify is is a fixed platform, a proprietary platform that they have built that provide you a fixed set of features that you can use to get started. But if you're looking for something that is more flexible or customizable, and you want to design an online store the way you want it, based on something you have in mind, WooCommerce is a great platform for that. Jitendra has asked, can you send the recording of this webinar? Sure, absolutely. You can look forward to an email from us post this webinar, and we'll be sure to uh, uh, send you that as well. One, Kumar has asked a question, wanted to know about inventory management, like how much inventory should be required to start with. Well, I think that really depends on the type of product and service in the market you have for that product. If you're just getting started, obviously the guidance would be to start small. But based on the initial planning that you have done and the research that you have done, you have a fair idea of how large the market is and the demand that is there for your product. You can then estimate, how many uh, using tools like Google search trends and Google keyword planner, you can kind of estimate the kind of visitors you can expect for your site and accordingly maintain that inventory. Once you're running up for a once you're up and running for a short period of time, you get the hang of it, and I don't think you have a problem then. Mahesh has asked how to improve website load speed. This is a great question and something that's really important. Uh, over the recent years, Google has made website load speed one of the important criteria for ranking on Google search as well. So you want to ensure that your site is performing and loading the best it can. Uh, One of the ways to do this is using tools like Google's paid speed insights. They essentially run a scan throughout your entire site and give you certain areas of improvement and recommendations of how you can improve it. I would suggest that's a great place to start. You can run a quick scan for your website on Google's paid speed insights and get a report for yourself and see how you perform. The improvements that you have to make would probably be divided into two parts, where one is there are certain elements of your website which you have to optimize. So in terms of your images and assets that you uploaded, and it could also be your hosting setup as well. If you're receiving too many visitors concurrently on your website, you'd probably want to upgrade to a higher setup like a VPS, which is a virtual private server, or a dedicated server, which will give you more resources to serve the traffic that you're getting. Rahul has mentioned that the links provided are not opening. Rahul, if you could probably let us know which link you are referring to, we can probably try and help you out there. We'll also include this in our email as well, so you can probably try visiting it from there as well. And lastly, like payment gateway charges 2%. How much does a logistic partner charge as per industry standard for a startup? Uh, Kumar, I sorry, I would not really have a really helpful answer to that. However, there are certain charges depending on the partner you choose and the service that you integrate with. You could probably reach out directly to them or to services like ShipRocket, and I'm sure they would be able to help you with the charges for the same. Ashwin has asked, my WordPress website takes time to load any solutions. So, like I mentioned, I think your first step should be to go to Google PageSpeed Insights. That will give you some insight and perspective into certain areas that you can improve for your website. It will tell you which areas you are lacking in and what uh, recommended solutions for that, and you can then go ahead and make those changes. uh, if you're receiving high traffic for your website, you get to know about that as well, and you can take necessary steps to change your hosting setup as well. So I think we are well over time, and I think if there are any other questions that I may have missed, I will post this webinar, respond to each of you, and ensure that you receive it post this webinar. A quick reminder that if you haven't already filled the form, please do that, and you will receive an email from us uh, post this post the end of this with the any unanswered questions, the links that we have provided, as well as some resources and discounts and offers exclusive to all of you that have attended this webinar. Thanks once again for joining us today, and I really enjoyed speaking with you all today. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.